there's this idea that in Alabama, because we are a red state, because we are conservative, because we are church going, things are okay. But as we all know, things are not okay. So we need to talk about that, dig a little deeper, then have the freedom to say what we really think, all while connecting the dots to let people know how they can be involved in Alabama and in national politics and make a difference.
Welcome to Alabama Unfiltered. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Beeson, and this is the show about, I'm not really sure what this show is about. I know it's about Alabama, things that are going on from an Alabama perspective, Alabama politics, what's going on in government, what's going on in sports, what's going on in people's lives. I have Amy Beth Shaver and Allison Sinclair. Ladies, welcome to the program, or welcome to y'all's program.
Thank you.
But maybe y'all can give me a little bit better idea of what exactly we're doing on this podcast here in the state of Alabama.
Aren't you so excited to be a part of this?
No, I really am. I'm here to hear what y'all have to say. That's why I've been taught that. I'm from Alabama. Be very nice. Be very nice to the ladies. Be respectful. Do what we're told. That's pretty much how it works.
I think we're still trying to figure this out. But the way I like to think about it is this is a show about, like, this is our dinner table. And what are the conversations that are happening in our homes with our families every day? And a lot of those topics will be, I don't know, some theology, some deeper topics of, in this world, what is God? Is God good? What are we looking at there?
So you're saying things that people talk about in Alabama, a solid, red, conservative, God-fearing Christian state, that those things that don't get talked about in the mainstream media. Those things that most people aren't discussing other places, but they're talking about it at home. They're talking about it around the water cooler. Do we still have water coolers?
Possibly.
Around the refrigerator that has water bottles in it at the break room, and those kinds of things. Things that we should be discussing, but that we're not.
I think that we want to, as someone we respect a lot says, we want to crush sacred cows in Alabama one podcast at a time. Mm-hmm. But we also want to make sure that we're connecting the dots for Alabamians that may think but won't speak. So we want to say the quiet part out loud. Things that we really do talk around the dinner table, things that our kids are coming home talking to us about education, but also about theology, about taxes. What does that even mean? How does that affect us? Because I think there's this idea that in Alabama, because we are a red state, because we are conservative, because we are church going, things are okay. But as we all know, things are not okay. So we need to talk about that, dig a little deeper, but then have the freedom to say what we really think, all while connecting the dots to let people know how they can be involved in Alabama and in national politics and make a difference.
So that's why it's Alabama Unfiltered.
Yes. Because
there's no one saying, hey, you can't talk about that. This is a sacred cow. This is something you don't want to discuss, those kinds of things. And one of the things I hope that comes from this show is that Alabamians realize that the things they believe in, the things that they want their families to be about, and the way they want their children to grow up, and how they want people to treat each other, et cetera, those are good things. Mm-hmm. Because I think Alabama and the other southern states, frankly, get kind of a short end of the deal. Oh, y'all are just rubes and rednecks. Do y'all even wear shoes anymore? I can't believe y'all believe in God and all this. And so a lot of Alabamians, especially younger Alabamians that I've encountered, say, I'm kind of ashamed to be, and they really shouldn't be. This is one of, if not the greatest places to live, not only in this country, but in the entire world. I've had the opportunity to go to a lot of different places, and there's no place I would rather be than Alabama. Alabama is the place where if you're broken down on the side of the road, people stop to help you. Every race, every creed, your neighbors will say hello to you. It's still one of those places where you can say hello to people when you're in the store and them not completely freak out and run and hide in terror. It is a wonderful place, and I think too many times we let the mainstream media, the old newspapers, tell us, oh, you're bad because we're not like California. Well, I'm proud not to be like California. And I hope that's one of the things we do is really cheer and let Alabamians know, this is a wonderful place. Can be better. A lot of the stuff we'll be talking about is why are we not doing the things that the people of Alabama expect? we're so conservative as a people. Why do our government officials not reflect our values?
That's right.
They tell us they do. Every time they're running, I'm going to fight for you. I'll fight for you. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
They don't. I think,
Maybe you is like Latin for special interest. What?
I didn't learn that in school, but I think that's such a great point, and that I was trying to think of what is the biggest issue in Alabama or in America right now, and I feel like it is Alabama, each region of the United States has certain characteristics that are so important to that region that goes along with their history and how they got there, and those differences are what make America great and make our country diverse and dynamic and amazing. And I feel like in Alabama, we've gotten to this point where we almost feel guilty for being who we are, because right now we're really told that the evangelical, the Christian, the white, Southern conservative is the problem in America. And I think we've got to get back to just being who we are and being okay with our values and our traditional conservative takes on life, and that there's a purpose for that, and there's nothing to be ashamed of, and to embrace and move forward.
I would take our culture and how we get along as people before anywhere else in the country, frankly. I'm only 52 years old, so all the things from the history books and that are shown on TV that happened in Birmingham and other places, those were terrible things, bad policies, etc. But if you come to 2021, I don't know of a place where people of different races actually get along better than they do in the Alabamas of the world. I mean, and so we should be celebrating those things. And everyone agrees, but people other places don't know about it, and they turn and they say, oh, it's Alabama, it's Alabama. Yes, some things happen, but they're usually small, isolated cases. And that's what I hope this show does, is really lets people know we're proud of this place. I hope that other people are proud of Alabama. And then let's talk about the things that folks don't know. Because sometimes, to Amy Beth's point, I think she's absolutely right, that we think things are going well because, quote unquote, our guys, our girls are in charge, and they're not doing what they promised us they would do when they ran for office.
That's right. And I think I learned that when I ran for office, and you know this better than anybody, is that number one, you are right. This is a phenomenal place to be from. I was born up north, and I got here as quick as I could. Glad to be from Alabama and from the South, though I love my home state, and I always will.
What home state is that?
Pennsylvania.
Really?
So, yes.
Y'all have the dudes that are swimming as girls.
Yeah. I mean, about that. I mean, really,
They're
like
winning.
a whole
They are
length
winning.
ahead of the
really
women.
good.
We
Yes.
need to examine that, which we
Okay.
will. We'll talk about that, because we're going to come against the problem, not the person. And that's what I think is going to set us apart as well, is that we see problems, and too often we run at the person and we truck them, when really what we disagree with is the idea and the theology or the principle behind it. And I think that's going to be something that's important to talk about and address. Right. But to the Montgomery issues, I think my eyes were really open. And this was years ago, thinking, wait a minute, we're in the South, everything's fine, everything is not fine. And we want to talk about that as well. But we are not going to demean the people. But we are going to take apart those ideas and connect the dots.
Can't say anything bad about the
you
people?
You can. You
Okay,
know what?
okay.
There are some people that, you know what? You're right, Scott.
You get a pass.
Because
I get a pass.
sometimes you're
Y'all
right.
will be cultured.
Yeah.
People
not so
do.
much.
You can hold my feet to the fire, but I will jump in right there, because at some point there are people that turn over and you're like, that is just straight up wickedness, or that is bad. And so, yes, you are correct. Let's not be Pollyanna here. But then we do want to talk about how great Alabama is, because we had one of our girls got married in the spring, and we had guests, and they're like, wow, these are great people.
And they were shocked.
They were shocked. When my mom and dad moved to Alabama, they were told, you're crazy for going to the South. What is wrong with you? You need to get back up where we're from and just forget about having a career down there. Like, he literally thought the roads were still dirt roads, which is ridiculous until you meet the people. And so that's what we also want to do.
I know, but I don't want
people.
everybody outside. We'll have to make our listeners promise that they don't let this podcast be heard outside of the state.
Okay.
Because if people know how great the state is, we will be overrun.
It's going to be like a treehouse.
Voters.
There's a passcode and
Okay,
like a
okay,
word.
okay,
and the
okay.
word is, do we
Right.
want to say what our theme is? Are we allowed to say that yet? Are we going to debut that maybe on a T-shirt?
We'll have to save the password.
Okay, we're going to save
until
it.
people prove themselves worthy.
Okay, it's fine.
Can I say no Yankees allowed, or is it no? Who's not allowed? No leftists allowed. No blue dots allowed.
I don't know,
It's a
but
special clubhouse.
It is a special clubhouse.
Alabamians only. How's that? We'll take all Alabamians for right now.
For right now.
Sometimes you have to raise your standards.
For right now. No, I just think that my hope is that we can have some of the difficult conversations that have kind of been banned across social media and even at dinner tables for the past few months, years, that we can respectfully sometimes disagree.
Right.
And just have really good discussion and to prompt our listeners, all two of them, kidding.
Yeah, it's like doubling our listenership.
There's four of us.
There is four of us.
right now.
But to really have these conversations, and I think you mentioned we've gotten to this adversarial place in America where you can't even disagree and have these discussions without taking a side. It's always us versus them. And I think that I've had to learn growing up that life's a little more gray. And let's talk about the gray. There are some things that are outside of that box of orthodoxy. But the gray is actually a beautiful place as long as you stick to the essentials. So maybe what we talk about are, what are those essentials?
Well, and then the question is, how much of what you think is gray have some people decided that's no longer gray? That's black or white, and you can't talk about that anymore either. It's almost as if the compromise area is really small. It's just getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And what you're both kind of saying is we're not against the individuals, but the philosophies or the policies. And I think we can discuss things in a way that says, okay, we may have good intentions, but is it really going to work? Where has it worked before? And I think a lot of times our government decides, and people on the left philosophically, they kind of boil it down to, I just want people to be happy. And I want people to be happy too. I really do. But if the policy is not actually going to lead people to being happy, it's just going to make me feel good about it today, and it's going to be a disaster tomorrow, that's really not a positive policy. And we should be able to say that. And we should be able to say, look, you got to prove to me where this has worked before. I mean, we're way into the history of mankind. Everything's been tried pretty much at least once. Right. So show me how it works, and then we'll talk about it.
That's why we're here, is this whole idea of kind of moral relativism. Moral relativism.
Both of those work here.
Those
this
words.
Is Alabama Unfiltered.
Where there's just no truth anymore. So, and there has to be grace, but you can have grace and truth. And maybe that's what we're exploring, is how do you have both in a world that is increasingly extreme? Like, extremism breeds extremism. And as the left kind of gets more strong in their rhetoric and in their actions, the other side rises to meet that. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes that's just not the way. And I think the tension comes in as Christians, as believers. It's a unfamiliar place to be in, where you have to step up and say some of the harder things, and yet still live in love and kindness and grace. And
how do you balance all
place.
that? That's why I'm excited about having the three of us on the show together. As y'all know, I do a radio talk show every day. I call it News Thought Radio. It's long form, and we talk about some of the things we'll talk about on this podcast. But having other people, ladies, to kind of bounce those things off of, because I'm quick to say, fight the fight, grab the sword, let's go to battle. The enemy's got to be vanquished. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times I need someone to say, hey, but what about this? Can we actually can we get around some of these intricacies that I want to just bulldoze over? The heck with it, we're going to win. But sometimes there's things to take a checkup a little bit and say, okay, let's win, but we got to think about how this happens. A little bit of that. And I think that's the good thing of having multiple opinions in a podcast like this.
I think there's a place for both. There's a place to sometimes bulldoze and throw some tables. And there's a place to just keep your mouth shut, which is hard for me. I'm trying to learn. I don't know. I mean, I think as parents, we struggle with that balance all the time.
Well, let me ask you. Okay, I'll ask both of you this, because there's other things I have questions about. Things that we're kind of brainwashed over and we don't realize it. Things that we're taught. Okay, so we're supposed to be the nice people. Y'all are supposed to be the nice ladies, nice Christian ladies. And so a battle comes up. It's at the local school board. And
we're domestic terrorists.
Well, I know y'all are. I can tell that easily by the backpacks you brought in. Good thing I'm not in Congress.
That tote bag looks really scary.
Very scary. But we're automatically, we have these things like, okay, well, let's just pray about it.
Oh, yeah.
That is the correct answer for a certain distance. Or if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. I'm not sure the bad guys didn't come up with that plan. Hey, all y'all over there, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything. While I'm just ranting, calling everybody a traitor, treasonous, going to destroy the democracy, hater, just awful. But if y'all can't say anything nice, don't say anything.
Yeah.
Which keeps you from ever calling me out, saying, what is wrong with you? Are you brain damaged?
And then
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So we're brainwashed into these things. We believe these things, and we don't really know why.
Right.
And they keep us from fighting for good sometimes.
I think we have been raised, or I don't know, steeped in this tradition of being nice. But is truth, the real question is, what is truth? And if we know what truth is, then we'll know what to run toward. Right. As believers, we know we're made to run toward battles. We're not made to shrink back. I mean, every single thing you look at, even just with the young, it says to, let your good works shine before men. Run so you win a prize. Live your life in such a way that you remember that you are, chosen, special, whatever. But we have been given, I love this verse, come let us reason together, a mind. And that mind is told to take every thought captive. So when we know the truth, then we will be better able to say, actually, that's not true. You're asking me to be nice, but that niceness is predicated on a lie. And if it's predicated on a lie, I can't go with you there.
Right.
Like the mask or the COVID or anything related to our kids. We're so often told to be nice. And that, I think, is a smokescreen. Because I think we also have people who don't know what to do, or they just don't want to be bothered.
Right.
And we want to help people
so you
get
say
a little
sometimes
bothered.
we say, hey, we're just going to pray about it. Do you think
that means don't do anything? That means I'm not going to do anything.
I'm not going to do anything, but I'm going to pretend that I did.
Yes, it's kind of like bless your heart.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can see
Okay,
that.
but the older I get, little smarter than I was. Right. And I think when people say I'm going to pray about it, that means I'm not going to do it. Because I think the Lord didn't give us a spirit of fear. He gave us power, love, and overcoming. And if he gave us that, and if we know his truth, then we will know that when you say, I'm going to pray about it, great, I'll get back with you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Instead of drawing it out and really not answering, kind of like those emails we put off, what do they say? If it's longer than 24 hours, then that person's really not on the top of your list, or they're not really your friend, or you don't value them,
like once
right?
a week.
So
just
policy. Psychologically speaking, I have a child in school for that, so I'm her guinea pig.
Right.
That's the kind of same thing we do with prayer. I'm going to pray about it. Well, okay, but if you are, then I will check with you in the morning. Right. I think one of those things, you've got to get an answer. That's probably another thing under the cover of niceness. We don't want to tell people yes or no, but yes or no is okay. To say, no, I really don't want to do that. Okay, no problem. But I need to know what your answer is. And so I think what we want to do in this podcast is hopefully affect people so much that they're motivated to move in the direction of their calling or their interest and bring people along with them instead of just sitting on the sidelines. Because Allison started Local this summer, which now has 1,000 members, because she got off, well, she was never on the sideline. Allison's always the leader. You're always doing something amazing, but people got in line because they're like, I want to be a part of doing something.
Yeah, that's one of the questions people always ask on the radio program, or when I was still involved in politics, give a speech somewhere. What can I do? Is there anything I can do? And sometimes the honest answer is right now, nothing.
Right.
We are at the mercy of the decisions we made last election or whatever. But there is there are things we can do, and hopefully through this podcast, we're going to give some people, and if we can inspire people to take action. One of the other things is we need to start trying to fix our problems here in Alabama. Right. If we can be self-sufficient here, if we can elect the right people to even to the city council, to the school board, to the state legislature, where we're led by people who believe the right things and really believe those things and have those ideals. We can't fix Washington, D.C. right now. We're never going to outvote California, but we can fix our things here, and we can take a stand for our values here, right, and actually live out the state motto, we dare defend our rights, which our government's not doing a very good job of it right now, but we could live that out again in 2021.
Exactly why I started Local Alabama, is because I think I have 4 kids, or had 4 kids. My oldest is in college now, in public school.
So he's not your kid anymore?
He is my kid, but wait.
I'm trying to understand.
I was going with still in school. Still in public,
I didn't know how you lost
K
one.
through 12.
Right. How many
Some
kids
days
do
I
y'all
would
have?
like
You
to.
have 4.
I have 4.
And you have 4.
And I have a son-in-law, so that's 5.
That is 5.
Yeah, don't forget him.
I love him so much.
You love your son-in-law?
I
Does he love
him.
you, though? Because you're the mother-in-law.
Yes.
He does? You're his favorite mother-in-law?
Yeah, I am. I'm the best mother-in-law he's ever had.
By
That's
far.
amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry.
So I realized when COVID hit, and we never pay attention to school board elections. Actually, Shelby County, we're one of the few places that elects the school board. I don't know. I pick the best name that I like the most. I mean, not
when
really.
you've heard the most.
Not
No,
really,
you didn't. Let's be honest. We have all done that, because we're not supposed to say that. We're supposed to say,
I've
no,
done Alabama
I did
Unfiltered.
tremendous research on all the candidates.
Well, back in the day, I would pick my favorite name.
Right.
I don't do that anymore, because that's why we got to where we are. How's that?
That's true.
But I realized, our local school boards were like make or breakers on our lives. I mean, think about that. The people in your own backyard that you never paid attention to, whoever they were appointed, okay, whatever. I don't know. I know their name now. And it was like, forget Washington, because we all pay so much attention to the, especially as Trump got into office, national attention. That is not where change starts. It literally, that's why I called it local, and it says local, and it has an American flag in the background, because if we're going to change America, it starts in North Shelby County or Homewood or Gardendale. And that's how we take back our country, and Alabama. And we start here.
That local education is how the left took over the last couple of generations.
It's so scary if you really dig into it. The education system.
Well, and it is, and it kind of ties into what we've been talking about, is we let other people decide. I did the same thing. If I don't know the name, I'm like, oh, this looks like a nice person. So we get stuck into but they're so nice, right? And then we didn't see how their policies affected our daily lives until our kids got there. And then we realized we have zero authority involved in either education, curriculum, anything that goes on in the schools. That's how we're connecting the dots. And so we want to do big things, but what we don't know is we've got to start with the little things. Number 1, decide that you're going to get involved. Number 2, decide that you're going to pray about it, but pray about it with an intent to act, and then get involved and run for those offices or be involved with local, whatever it is. But that really also for me is where that started to wake me up, is what is going on here.
The local school board
The
stuff?
local school board, because they don't reflect who we are. And they picked curriculum that didn't reflect our community. And then you're powerless to do anything about it. And they got there because they are kind people. It's not that they're not kind. It's not that they're not
super
smart.
Nice.
But they do not reflect who we are.
My policy has always been, okay, he or she is super nice. They're so nice. Please bring them home and let them spend time at your house instead of in office.
Right.
Does that make sense? Let's not send them to the legislature. Let's not put them on the school board.
That's right.
Let's let them do really great neighborhood volunteer programs. Something.
Because sometimes the people that you want in office are not the people that you want to have at your dinner table. They're a little
They're a little rigid.
irascible.
That's an
They're a
interesting
little
discussion.
feisty. They're a little extra, but they will go and get things done.
So we pick those people to be our college football coaches
Right.
because we want to win.
Right.
But we don't pick those people to be our elected officials because we don't want to win.
Amen.
We should do a whole podcast on that. The whole debate about whether personalities of your elected officials really should be a factor in your decision.
I
Or
agree
is it-
completely.
I mean, that's
I
a
don't-
hot
I don't-
topic.
I don't want that lady I get along with all the time.
Right.
I want the lady who I know how she's going to vote.
That's right.
This is her philosophy, and if somebody's mad at her, tough. This is what she believes in. She told us that's what she believes in. That's why I want
That's
her.
right.
I've hired her to do that job.
That's
My
exactly
best
right.
friend is amazing, and she loves Jesus, and she's happy, and she's so nice, and she would be the worst elected official ever. You don't want her in any. She'd do cupcakes and glitter every day, and nothing would get
How
done.
would she deal with? She shows up in the big box store, the local market, and somebody is mad at her because she didn't vote right. Would she start being like, "Oh my gosh, I got to
so
do what I got to do.
sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Jesus
How do I make it up
loves
to
you."
you? What can I do?"
Can I give you a
Mhm.
cupcake?
Right?
You know, I mean, like,
That
and,
really-
and God makes those people like she serves a purpose,
That's
but
right.
her purpose
She
is
has
not
her.
in office.
She has her gifts.
No.
So many times when I was in the legislature, and y'all
position.
both know I served 16 years in the Alabama legislature, 8 in the House, 8 in the Senate, and there are exceptions. You know, some of the people on our side, especially men, love to say, "Well, we need a businessman. We need a businessman."
Oh, my word.
And I'm okay. I got all that. I'm for that philosophically. But the problem is I've seen really successful, really good businessmen get elected, and they've never had anybody tell them no. They are the boss, and then all of a sudden they show up at Sunday school and 5 of the 20 people are mad at them, or they go to, like I said, the big box store and they have 2 people go, "What are you doing?" And they just
They
fold.
crumble.
And they believed right and all that kind of stuff, but they wanted people to like them so much it just wouldn't work. So sometimes there's something to the argument of, have they held office before? Have they been through the fire before and proven themselves? Oh, now I'll promote them, because you really don't know what you're going to get.
It's such a good discussion.
So that's another show. Are you writing these things down?
We need to
I
have
need
I have a
to.
list.
Okay.
I have a list. But I do think, though, to the businessman point, I think we also need to take mothers and get them into office, because our job basically is saying no 24/7.
My wife has a
So
button.
true.
She used to have a button you just mash. No.
I mean, I need that button. I mean, I
No.
only have one left.
It's not like Hillary's reset button, but it's no.
It's a no,
No.
and
Right.
and it's fair. So I think that's a very good discussion. Is let's do that. Let's talk about the personalities.
Yeah.
And who should be there and who shouldn't, because basically some people have run for office that have never been Simon Cowelled, so they're shocked when they get there and they're not great. It doesn't mean they're not a great person. It just means you don't belong there. It's okay. Like your
That's not
mama
true.
should have told you after high school government
Right.
that maybe you should have picked another career.
Right. No, I
But it
agree.
also should not be the best career you've ever had. When you,
I agree.
You know,
No, you-
like
you-
I
you
want you to
should
love
not-
it, but I don't want
should
you to
not love
stay
it.
there.
I don't want you to love it.
I don't want you to stay
If
there.
you love it, you've been around it enough.
Yeah.
If you love it, something's wrong. You're not trying to fix things if you love it.
Right.
Because
It's
if you're really
hard.
trying to fix it, you're going to just be banging your head against the wall. So, all right, how about my other theory for another thing for another show, even though we're introducing, is that if the Republic is going to be saved, one of the groups that's going to save it is going to be conservative women. Because the conservative men have already been
Where did you go?
castrated.
Yeah.
We are way more worried about, well, I say we as a group, speaking for conservative men. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't, oh my gosh, somebody will be mad at me. But women seem to be, whether it's the women in Congress, they are like bulldogs. They are on it. They are fighting every day. And we can't get some of the conservative congressmen to say anything about anything. So it may actually be
thing, actually, except that it's not bizarre. This is the Garden of Eden discussion of
really.
yeah,
What?
like look, women.
I thought y'all were responsible for that one.
Eve just
We
decided,
were.
that's what I'm saying. She just took control and decided she was literally going to run the world. Now maybe God will use us, but it's been leading local and starting this organization. It was the moms that came through and the grandmothers and just the women of Birmingham and Alabama that stepped up. Now the men have slowly joined in, but men in churches are gone. And it's so
Well, I have a theory on
weird
that
to
one
me.
too. It's because
that would be
churches
great.
have been very feminized.
They have. You guys have been emasculated.
You got castrated in church.
It happened
That's
like
interesting.
during one of the world wars or something. Is the theory that I've always been heard is that there was a time period when men were out of the churches, they were having to work or they were going to war or whatever. So they started adopting more feminized versions of church to get more of the women involved. And then when the men came back, it was all settled. Now I don't know if that's true or not, but men and young men need to be challenged. They need to be able to be knights in shining armor. They need to be able to be the Viking warrior protecting things. And they've just been told, no. That's wrong. Calm yourself down. Be nice. Be quiet. Be good. And they're like, And so why do we expect them to fight now when their whole entire lives they've been told, sit down, be quiet, be nice?
Chris and Will just went through Wild at Heart before Will is in school. And you could just see a light in Will's eyes after they would sit together and talk through the different chapters, because there's that freedom given to be who God made you to be, which is very manly and very strong. And I think when we are who we are created to be, we work well together. But I do think the church has been feminized, and I do think culture has been feminized. And I do think, and I agree with you 100%, that very often men are afraid to say, well, I don't agree with that, or I have a different opinion. And the girls walk around like, I'm offended. Then that's just like, how can you get anything done if your feelings are constantly hurt? Take your feelings out of it. What's the situation? What do we need to do? Let's do it.
Right.
But for men, I can completely see how you guys have been just silenced. And that's not right, because God made men and women, and he made us to work together. And
Equal and to work together.
That's right.
I don't understand why that was so hard. So I don't know how long they want us to go on this first one, but anything you want to add up. This is Alabama Unfiltered. It's with under the banner of 1819 News. I'm very excited about doing this podcast with y'all, and I hope y'all are as well. And it's going to be really good. There's going to be a lot of great programs. Like we said, things that maybe other people won't talk about. Clearly, you can see already we're going to say things that other people won't say. And I don't know what y'all's spiritual gifts are, but I've always said mine is hacking people off. Not really sure. I don't think it's
You're on the right
listed.
show, probably.
It was probably in one of the lost, Dead Sea Scroll things. But hacking people off.
I think it's good.
Last words.
So how about, real quick, what's everybody's walkout song? What's everybody's theme song? Do you have one?
I'm going with Sweet Home Alabama.
I
Just to be
actually
ahead.
really thought about that.
Really? Why
yeah.
do women think of things like that?
Well,
I mean, I just said that off the spur of the moment. And you
We
thought
need
about
to
that?
No, I didn't
Yes.
think about Sweet Home Alabama. Oh,
Just
yeah,
that you
no,
thought
I
about what a
actually thought
walkout
about-
song is.
right.
I'm not even sure what one is.
Well, like
know.
before the boxers, before the basketball players, or the
Oh,
volleyball
your
players.
intro song.
Like, what's your
right before
walkout
you take the
music?
bat
Like,
or before
who
you
are
serve.
you, Scott Beeson? Like, we know who you are in the
Okay,
public, but
okay,
like,
so-
who are you? What's your like?
This probably explains it a little bit. I really wanted my daughter, because they do that. She plays volleyball at Florida for the Gators, so we're big Gator volleyball fans. But I went to Alabama. I really wanted her song to be, and I probably would do it for myself. Have you ever heard the song Alabama?
No.
No.
Oh my goodness, really?
Wait
All
a
right,
minute.
well,
Who sings it?
I don't
it
know.
like a
I don't know pop culture stuff.
Oh, my
But
kids will
it's
be
got a
upset.
Favorite
girl,
song?
and he meets the girl, and she's got like some kind of shirt on, whatever, and he asks where she's from, and she's like, I'm from Alabama. It's an awesome
please.
song.
Yes, please.
So anyway, that's probably
Maybe
where
that
I'm
should
going
be our
with. It
theme
fits
song.
perfectly
Just
with the
saying.
whole thing,
Yeah.
but
I like it. How about you?
I'm gonna have to really think about it, because that's extremely personal and deep to me. Which I don't know what that says, but yes, I did think about it. And but I didn't come up with anything.
But you were thinking.
Maybe that's our assignment.
I think that's a good assignment. I mean, I love Sweet Home Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably
At least the first few seconds.
the first few seconds of it, and then you're like,
And you're like,
okay,
how long do they make all these songs? And then they
It's a
have
lot of words
they have
in a
long
song.
they have songs longer
but
than
it
that.
does make you stop wherever you are, right?
And put your hand over your heart. And
One
stand
of
at attention.
our children is at school in West Virginia, and they played it at their football game, and I was like, excuse me, everyone, I need a moment. Do we all hear this song? I think it's for me.
Bizarre.
Right.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. But we need to think about like our theme music, our walk-up music.
I did tell Brian that we can't have a lame intro song.
No, and
It's
maybe
gotta
we could
be-
crowdsource it, if we pick one and people are like, I don't really like that. But I think we will because we like music. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all
I'm
like
gonna have
music.
to look up Aleph freaking band.
I will play it in a minute. We'll play it off
Okay.
the air.
Okay.
Okay. That sounds good.
Well, ladies, that's the first episode of Alabama Unfiltered, and hopefully we'll be able to do this every week. It's going to be a weekly show, somewhere around 30 minutes every time, 30 minutes to an hour, and our listeners can find that over at YouTube and Gab or at 1819news.com and or subscribe over at iTunes and look for the podcast. Well, I hope y'all will join us. This has been Alabama Unfiltered, the best podcast that you'll find in the state of Alabama, and we'll talk to y'all soon.